Bonsuelo. Okay, let's do it the other way around today. Last time I gave you equations. You had to identify that it was the equation of a line first of all, or not the equation of a line if that was the case. And then you had to pull information out of the equation. Today what you're doing is the opposite of that. Okay? Now, I want to point out something. Well, two things. One, everything I'm going to say is going to have vertical and horizontal lines as an exception. You just have to have those memorized. You don't have to show me work for vertical and horizontal lines. You just write the answer, okay? Next, you were shown how to do this using the slope-intercept equation. And, yeah, okay, it works, sort of. But I'm going to tell you why that's not a good way to do it, okay? No matter what, except if it's a vertical horizontal line, no matter what, you start with the point slope, okay? If you can find a point and you can find a slope, you can write the equation of a line. I don't care what the problem is, unless it's a vertical or horizontal line. You find the point and you find the slope. If you're starting out these problems asking yourself, how do I write the equation of this line? You're already wrong. You're wrong. You're just starting off wrong. You have to ask yourself, where's a point? What's a point on this line? What's the slope of this line? And if you can answer those two specific questions, you can write the point slope form, okay? So I want to get something across here. Sometimes I won't ask for a specific form. In other words, I don't care whether you write the point slope form, the slope intercept form, or standard form. Okay? But sometimes I will. So let's say I ask you to write the point slope form. Which one do you start off by writing? Well, the point slope form. Let's say I ask you to write the slope intercept form. Which one do you start off by writing? No, not the slope intercept form. You start with the point slope form. Let's say I ask you to write the standard. By the way, sometimes it's called the general form or standard form, same thing. Let's say I ask you to write the standard form. What one do you write? You don't start with the standard form, okay? You write the point slope form. Other than a vertical or horizontal line, you start with the point slope form. It will be the best way to solve the problem, to complete the problem. Okay, so let's take a look here. So write the equation of each line. What do we need to do? Find the point, find the slope. Not find the y-intercept and find the slope. You can do it that way, but find any point. That's why, the slope-intercept form, you have to find a specific point. It's the y-intercept. But here, you find any point, okay, in the slope. All right. So do we know a point? Yeah. Do we know a slope? Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's write the point slope form. Y plus 7, and again, why is it plus 7? Because it's minus a negative 7 equals negative 2/5 times x minus 3. Okay, what do I have to do from here? Well, I don't know, maybe take a nap, because you're done. That's all you have to do. I didn't say what form to write it in. So you can write it, as long as it's one of the 3 legitimate forms, you can write it in any of them. Okay? So you're done. Now, let me show you what you have to do, though, if, and don't write this down, I'm just going to show it to you, then erase it. If you go for the ever-beloved slope-intercept form. Okay, you write y equals negative 2/5 x plus b. Okay. Do you have the answer yet? No, you don't. Oh, okay. Then you substitute in a point. And don't write this down. This is what I'm telling you not to do. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's a bad way to do it. You substitute in the point. Negative 7 equals negative 2/5 times 3 plus b. Okay. Do you have the answer yet? No, you don't. okay? And then you'd simplify that. Actually, what I'd do at this point is I would get rid of fractions. Again, I have an equation I'm solving for b. So I'd multiply by 5. So you'd get negative 35 equals negative 2 times 3 plus 5b. So I just multiplied each term by 5. Fine. Do I have the answer yet? No. Okay, so then what would I do? I'd add the 6, because this is 6, so I'd add the 6. So I'd get negative 29 equals 5b. Do I have the answer yet? No. Then I'd have b equals negative 29 fifths. Do I have the answer yet? No. A lot of work here for not getting any answer. Okay, well, so then we'd have y equals negative 2 fifths x minus 29 fifths. Finally, after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, you have an answer. It's the correct answer. But why would you do that? I mean, why do all this work when all you have to do is this, okay? By the way, let's say you really love the slope-intercept form and you want to write the slope-intercept form. I can still show you an easier way to write the slope-intercept form. And again, don't write this down, just listen. This is what you do. Okay, now we know this is going to be the answer to the slope-intercept form. Okay, this thing down here. Well, if you want to really write the slope-intercept form, what would you do? First thing you do is do what I told you to do. Write the point-slope form. Okay? And then what do? Well, from that, you change it into the slope-intercept form. And what makes the slope-intercept form the slope-intercept form? You get y by itself. So all you have to do is get y by itself. So you have y plus 7. Don't do this, by the way. It's a total waste of time. As soon as I wrote this, I had the answer. I'm just saying, this is what a lot of people do. I don't know why, but, okay, negative 2 fifths x plus, what would that be? What's 6 fifths? Okay, and then they add the 7 to both sides. And of course, 7 with a common denominator of 5 is going to be minus 35 fifths, and then you get that. So even if you want to write the slope-intercept equation, it's easier to write the point-slope first, right? I mean, I did it in 4 steps instead of 6, okay? And did I have the answer in every single step? Yes. Because this very first step, actually, you could have stopped there. You should have stopped there. There's no reason to go on. But even this is the equation of the line. Even this is the equation. Every single step has the equation of the line. Whereas if you do it by going directly to the slope-intercept form, you never have the answer until the 6th step. So if you did anything wrong prior to that, you're wrong. You're just completely wrong. Okay? So let's take a look at another problem. Now, so I'm going to get rid of this stuff because it was like a total waste of time. Slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form's fine. It's a great form. Believe me, it's very useful. But it's not the best one. Okay, point-slope's the best one. Okay, so given 2 points on line. Okay, now, if you're saying, how do I write the equation of this line? You're wrong. Because what should you be saying to yourself? How do I find a point? How do I find a slope? Okay, do I have a point? Yes, 5, 1, that's a point. You don't need 2 points, you need 1 point. Let's say 5, 1. Okay? Do I have a slope? Well, no, I don't have the slope. But can I calculate the slope? Yes, I can calculate the slope. How? The change in y over the change of x. So we'll take 1 minus a negative 3. Or if you just want to write, 1 plus 3, that's fine. And then 5 minus 2. So that's going to be what? 4/3. And then what do you write? You write the point-slope form. I'm just telling you, unless it's a vertical or horizontal line, you just always write the point-slope form. So we have y minus 1, So we have y minus 1 equals 4/3 x minus 5. Okay? Do we have the answer? Yes, that's a correct answer for the line. It's not the final answer, because notice I wanted you to write the slope-intercept form. So what makes the slope-intercept form the slope-intercept form? You get y by itself. Okay, no problem. So we get 4/3 x minus 20/3. And then we add 1, and we get 4/3 x. So that would be plus 3/3 minus 17/3. There you go. Okay? Now, that's the solution. But I want to point something out. Okay, I'm going to draw some other stuff here. You don't need to draw it, but just listen. What if you had decided to use the other point? Let's say you decided to use 2 comma negative 3. You'd write y plus 3 equals 4/3 x minus 2. Then you get y by itself. Y plus 3 equals 4/3 x minus 8/3. And then you would subtract the 3, right, which would be 9/3, negative 9/3. But so y equals 4/3 x, and then negative 8/3 minus 9/3 is negative 17/3. You'll get the exact same answer. Okay? Now I want to point out something to you. How many standard form equations are there for any line? 1. There's only 1. Okay, how many standard form equations for any line? Not standard, sorry. How many slope-intercept form equations are there for any line? Only 1. But how many point-slope equations are there for any line? There's an infinite number, because you can use any point and the slope. That's why it's just so easy. It's like any point on the line and the slope. Okay? Now, so it wouldn't have mattered which way you did it, you'd get the same answer. So I'm going to get rid of this thing on the bottom, and then I'm going to show you one other thing. Okay, and after this, I'm not going to be graphing, I'm not going to be doing these 2 different ways each. Okay, what do most people want to do? So I'm going to draw this, or, like show you this. Don't do it. Okay, so at this point, like stop writing and just listen. Oh, he wants the slope-intercept form. So what do? You write y equals 4/3 x plus b. Do you have the answer yet? No, you don't have the answer. Then you substitute in a point, and it wouldn't matter which point. I'll pick 5, 1. So we'd have 4/3 times 5 plus b. Do we have the answer yet? No, we don't. We don't have the equation of a line yet. None of these have been the equation of a line, because they don't have x and y in the proper numbers. Then we'd have 1 equals 20/3 plus b. Still don't have the answer yet. Okay, we'll subtract the 20/3, and we'll get negative 17/3. Still don't have the answer yet. And then we'll write y equals 4/3 x minus 17/3. And finally, after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, we have the answer. And if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, you've never had the answer. Whereas if you do it the way I'm trying to show you, from the very beginning, you have the answer. You don't have it in the final form, but you have the correct equation of the line. Every single step is the correct equation of a line. It may not be in the right form until the last step, but even notice it only took me 3 steps. So, I really can't emphasize enough. I don't know why people are so enamored. Well, I do know, because, it's like I'm comfortable with it, and, the point slope's kind of hard because I've never dealt with it before, and we'll deal with it, and then I'm telling you, things will just be way easier. That's all I can really tell you. Okay, a vertical line passing through that. What's the equation of every vertical line? X equals So the answer here is x equals. By the way, I would suggest you try all of these all on your own. Pause the video, try them on your own, and then see if, when you see me do it, that you get it correct. Okay, so it's x equals 37/9. Why? Because that's the x-coordinate. It's that simple. Okay, given the x-intercept 1/3 and the y-intercept 2/5, what do you need? You need a point and a slope. Okay, is there a point here? Yeah, I've given you 2 points. Not 1/3, 2/5. 1/3, 2/5 is, I've never given you a point in this problem, 1/3, 2/5. There's 1/3, 0, and 0, 2/5. That's why I always recommend you write the intercepts properly. Not just x 1/3 and y is 2/5, because then you're going to think there's a point 1/3, 2/5, and it's just not here. So what do? Well, at this point, it's the exact same problem as number 2. Okay? What do? You find a point, you find the slope, you write the point slope form. So let's find the slope. It's the change in y, so it's 0 minus 2/5. All over the change in x, so it's 1/3 minus 0. So we now have negative 2/5. And how do you divide by a fraction? How do you divide by 1/3? You multiply by 3/1. So we get the slope is negative 6/5. Now at this point, what am I telling you? Write the point slope form. Take whichever point you want. I don't care. If you take the first point there, you have y minus 0 equals negative 6/5 times x minus 1/3, and you're done. Okay? And you don't need all of these, you'd only need one, right? Take the second point, y minus 2/5 times equals negative 6/5 times x minus 0. Or someone may say, well, Mr. Lieblein, we know the y-intercept and we know the slope. Could we just go straight to the slope-intercept form? Sure, that makes perfect sense here. Okay? So it'd be y equals negative, so it's y equals negative 6/5 x plus 2/5. That's a great way to do it. Okay? It's fine here. Any one of those is fine. Okay. Given the graph, and then what I want you to do is write standard form. So what do? You find a point, you find a slope. I'm telling you, you just look for a point and a slope. When you think of a line, you think of a point and a slope. If your mother wakes you up in the middle of the night and says to you, lines, you should wake up screaming, point, slope, what? Oh, point and slope. I just heard the word lines, and I know I need a point and a slope. Okay, so find any point on here. All right, looks like this is a good point. What point is that? And I suggest you write it down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 7, 4. And you can find another point, like up here, and that point's fine too. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative 4, 8. But you know what? Just count off the slope. So it's 1, 2, 3, positive 4/3. So the slope is 4/3, and the point is negative 7, 4. Or if you wanted to use the point up here, that's what? Negative 4, 8. That's fine too. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I want standard form. So what form do you write? Of course you don't write standard form. You write the point slope form. So we have y minus 4 equals 4/3 x plus 7, x minus a negative 7. Okay, now remember, what makes standard form standard form? X and y on the same side, okay, and no fractions or decimals. Main thing is x and y on the same side, but no fractions and decimals. So let's just get rid of the fractions here. So let's multiply by 3. So we have 3y minus 12. And you could have really skipped this step right here and just gone straight to calling it 3y minus 12 and then 4x plus 28. Okay? All right. Now let's put the x and y on the same side of the equal sign and the stuff that's not x and y on the other side. Okay, myself, I like the x to be positive, so I'm going to keep the 4x where it is. So it's 4x, and I'm going to subtract the 3y, and then I'm going to subtract the 28 from both sides, and that would be negative 40. Or if you just write 4x minus 3y equals negative 40, that's fine. It's the easiest way to do that one. No matter how you're doing it, that's what you're going to end up with. That's just the easiest way to do it. Again, and you could have used the point negative 4 comma 8. You would have gotten the same thing. Okay, given the graph, and we want the slope-intercept form. Okay, so first of all, be very careful here. Don't be misled into thinking that's the intercept, okay? It is the x-intercept, but the slope-intercept form is the y-intercept. And also, don't get the idea, oh, I can kind of see what the y-intercept is. No, you don't know exactly where the y-intercept is. You might kind of be able to get it close, but you need to find a point that you're sure that's exactly it. So let's find a point, let's find a slope. Okay, so what's this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's negative 5 comma 0. All right? That's the easiest point to use. And then let's find another point on here. I don't know, it looks like right about there. And again, you can find that point and calculate slope, but you might as well just count it off. 1, 2, negative 3 and over 2. So we have the slope is negative 3/2, and the point is negative 5, 0. And again, don't write, the intercept is negative 5 because you're going to think that's the y-intercept. So what form do we write? We write the point slope form. So we have y minus 0 equals negative 3/2 times x minus a negative 5 would be plus 5. And, for the slope-intercept form, you want to solve for y. Y is already alone here, so all we need to do is distribute the negative 3/2. So it's negative 3/2 x minus 15/2. Okay. All right, here we go. Now here, find a point, find a slope. Did I give you a point? Yes, I did. See, if you're just looking at this, how do I do this? You're not going to get it. But I gave you, matter of fact, I gave you 2 points. Because remember, what does this mean? This means the value of y when x is 3 is 7. The value of y when x is 3 is 7. That's a point. That's a point 3 comma 7. And what's this mean? The value of y, this is just function notation. The value of y when x is 5 is 2. So when x is 5, y is 2. And you want to know what? This is the exact same problem as problem number 2 up here. I just gave it to you in a little different format. Okay? I didn't ask for a specific form. There's something I'm going to get to at the end that's a little misleading here. But let's just go for finding this. So I have 2 points. We'll just pick this one as the point. Let's find the slope. So we have 7 minus change in y over the change in x. So that's going to be 5 over negative 2. Okay, so I'll just pick the first point. So we have y minus 7 equals negative 5/2 x minus 3. Okay, now, would I take that as an answer? Yeah, I would. But I got to be honest with you. Remember, I've told you at one point, always give the answer in the form of the original problem. If the original problem indicates a specific form, then you give the answer in that form. It's like, I said that when I was talking about fractions and decimals. If you're given fractions, you answer it's a fraction. If you're given decimals, you answer it's a decimal. Okay, here. Does the problem itself indicate a specific form? Yes. Why? Because this is function notation. And you write a function, y equals, right? F of x equals. So this problem really indicates slope-intercept form because y equals is slope-intercept form. Now, I would accept this answer. Or, if you use the other point, that'd be fine too. But really, this answer should be written as a function because the original problem is written as a function. Notice up here in problem number 2 or any of the other problems, the way I gave you the problem doesn't, other than if I requested a form, doesn't indicate a specific form. Doesn't indicate slope-intercept. It doesn't indicate point slope. I just use point slope because it's the best one. It doesn't indicate standard form. But this problem actually, and I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but this problem actually indicates function notation, which is y by itself. So really, to write the correct answer for this, I'm just going to do this real quickly. I don't want to, again, I'm going to get bogged down in it. I'm going to distribute the -5/2. And then I'm going to add 14 halves, right? Add 7, which is 14 halves. Okay, but I would take this one up here, but this is a better answer. And then, we'd write, actually, if we want to really make it look correct, f of x equals -5/2 x plus, whoa, what happened to that number? 29 halves. Okay. Given a linear function with g of 7 equals 2, and g of x increases by 5 when x increases by 4. Okay. Did I give you a point? Sure, right here. I gave you a point, 7, 2. Did I give you a slope? And a lot of people say, well, no, you didn't give me the slope, but I can calculate it. But I say you're wrong. Well, you can calculate it, but I handed you the slope. I gave it to you on a silver platter. Now, pause the video and look at this problem and see if you can figure out what the slope is, because I literally told you what the slope is. And here's your problem. You think slope is rise over run. Slope is not rise over run. Slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay, I'm assuming you've paused the video and thought about it for a while. Let's take a look. What does this say? Y increases by 5. That's a change in y. When x decreases by 4, that's a change in x, a change in y over a change in x. I literally just told you the slope, but you probably didn't see it because you think, oh, slope is rise over run. Rise over run is garbage. It's garbage. Slope is not rise over run. It's the change in y over the change in x. Okay? So at this point, this is cake. It's just, it's the same problem as any one with a point and a slope. So let's write y minus 2 equals -5/4, x minus 7. And again, for this year, I would accept that. But again, we're talking function notation here, so technically we should, write it in function form. So I'm going to distribute the -5/4. That's going to be, 35/4. And then I'm going to add 2, which is 8/4. And why don't we just go straight to using f of x, because that's really what it is. So if we add 8/4, we get 43/4. Okay? I mean, just point slope form. Okay? With the exception of a vertical and horizontal line. I have nothing else to tell you. Every single one of these problems is that. Okay, there's one last thing I want to tell you about lines, and that is parallel lines have the same slope. So if I tell you one line has a slope of 1/2, and the another line is parallel to it, then its slope is 1/2. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. Now I'm going to write something down, but you don't write this down. Let's say I tell you the slope of one line is 5/4. And I want the slope of a second line, which is perpendicular to it, it's -4/5. That's a negative reciprocal. Okay? So if I tell you the slope of one line is -2, then the negative reciprocal of that is 1/2. That would be the perpendicular. Okay, again, when doesn't this work? Vertical and horizontal lines. Okay, for vertical line, the slope is undefined, or you could say no slope, and its perpendicular would be horizontal, which has 0 slope. And those are not reciprocals of each other. Okay, you just have to have that memorized. All right. So let's take a look at an example of something. Okay, here, write the standard form of a line that contains point blah, 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 and is perpendicular to that. So what do we need to know? We need to know a point and a slope, right? Okay, so here's your point. Fine. Now here's your slope, but this doesn't give us slope, okay? But we want to know the slope of this line in order to find the slope of a line that's perpendicular. So what form can I change this into? Very easily, that will give me its slope. Well, if I get y by itself, that'll give me the slope of this line, so I'm going to subtract 5x and then divide by -7. Okay, now the slope of this line is 5/7. And what do I want? A line perpendicular to that. Therefore, the perpendicular slope is going to be -7/5. All right? Remember, you want to find a point, you want to find a slope. And at this point, then, it just becomes the same as all the other problems. So I'm going to write the point-slope form. Y minus 7 equals -7/5 x minus 3. Okay, and now what do I want? I said I want the standard form of this. So again, I'm going to get the x and y on the same side of the equal sign, and I'm going to get rid of fractions first. So I'm going to multiply by 5y minus 35 equals, and you can skip this step. You have to get rid of fractions. But if you want to go, in other words, if you want to skip that, and if you can get rid of fractions and distribute the -7 at the same time, be my guest. Right? If you want to go straight from here to here, please do. And now we'll get the x's and y's on the same side of the equal sign. Again, I like my x's to be positive, so I'm going to move the 7x over to the left-hand side. So we have 7x plus 5y, and I'm going to add 35 to both sides equals 56. Okay? Whoa, a lot of information there, but you know, when it all comes down to it, what am I saying? You find a point, you find a slope. Write the point-slope form, except for vertical and horizontal lines. I'm telling you, it'll work except for vertical and horizontal lines, it'll work every time. Have a great day. But you know what, after this, how could you not have a great day? This just makes the day great. Bonsuelo, everybody.